What's up YouTube, General NX here. I just wanted to bring you guys a quick little video on the newest balance changes that will be coming to Clash Royale on June 12th. Hopefully this video will be out by the time the balance changes are here. And a lot of this video is going to be predictions on how this is going to change the meta in Clash Royale. Now, as you can see by the title of this video, it's titled Rise of the Guards for actually I think a pretty good reason. I think guards are actually going to rise in the meta a lot because one, Goblin Gang is getting nerfed, and two, there's a lot of changes that are positive for guards, as you'll see later in the video. Without further ado, let's get started. First up on our list, we have the Night Witch. She got a pretty hefty nerf, because now she'll only spawn 3 bats upon death instead of 4, and the bat spawn speed will be changed to 6 seconds from 5 seconds, and the initial bats will spawn a little slower. There'll be a slight delay. Now this is a pretty decent nerf, but the Night Witch, I think she's still going to remain very strong in the meta, but just not overpowered like she currently is. Like, I don't think the clone, mirror, rage, whatever Night Witch decks shouldn't even like work, honestly. Now the nerf actually affects long-term DPS more than her initial DPS, which is why she has a slight delay on her bats now, but she's still like good. Like, if you need to quickly kill something, you can just drop the Night Witch and it'll die pretty quickly. But if your goal is to build up a lot of bats, she's no longer very good at that. She'll build up like bats like a little bit faster than a witch now, but much slower than before. See, so as a result of that, she's actually going to be a lot weaker on offense now, because on offense you kind of want to build up a lot of bats. So with less bats, that means she's not as strong as offense. Now with only 3 bats spawning upon death, your counter push won't just like infinitely die to the bats. Like right now, let's say you counter a Night Witch with a Knight, Knight, you know, whatever. So what if you counter a Night Witch with a Knight? Well then, usually the Knight's always gonna die to the bats basically, because their DPS is basically 4 skeletons, which is like 200 something, which is kind of ridiculous. But with only 3 bats, the Knight might survive, and he could act as a tank for maybe a Hog Rider or a Miner or something. Anyways, that's it for Night Witch. Let's move on after that. Next up, we have a nerf to Tornado, reducing the duration from 2.5 seconds to 3 seconds. Now this will overall mean a higher skill, because it actually does less damage now. It doesn't even kill goblins anymore, but it still will hard counter things like Miner. But it will be slightly weaker to Hog Rider, I think, because I don't even know if the new Tornado change will shut down Hog Rider once all 3 towers are active, because it's a lower duration. It'll be slightly worse to tanks due to the low duration, because you can't delay tanks for so long. Like right now you can delay a push for 3 whole seconds, which in I think double elixir is enough to pump up 2 more elixir. That's kinda okay. And well, Executioner Tornado will still be just as strong to ranged troops instead of melee troops, because melee troops still move, but ranged troops stay still, so all the ranged troops will still get splashed, so the melee troops might move out of the range. So I think melee might become more meta rather than ranged, all the ranged supports running around currently. But the overall change to Tornado means a good buff to Hog Rider actually. Believe it or not, I think the Log is actually receiving a buff this change. While like on Piper it looks like it's getting a range reduction, you're like, oh, that's a nerf. But the thing is that they're also fixing the bug where it cannot be placed on buildings. This was really annoying when you had an elixir pump like popped in the corner and they dropped like a goblin barrel on it. That means the goblin barrel is basically safe from anything because they're just hide behind the pump and you can't place a log there. Now this makes it a lot better on defense, but the range reduction still a nerf. It's worse on offense, but it's like so much better on defense actually. You can defend your tower because you can place the log on top of it. It actually lost me a game one time in a tournament when there's a battle ram about to hit my tower. I tried to place it on my tower, but it bugged out and placed it next to it, causing the log to completely miss. So it's a lot better on defense, worse on offense. There's also going to be less chip damage onto enemy buildings and the tower because of the range reduction. I think if you place it at 3 tiles from the river, I'm not sure if it'll even chip the tower anymore. Let's move on. This is where the guard positive starts coming in. So first off, Goblin Gang nerf. 1 less Spear Goblin, which means 1 less anti-air troop, you have less range, and because Spear Goblins are good at distracting, you have actually less distraction. Now the DPS is gonna be relatively the same because As you see by the slide right here, Spirit Goblin's DPS is less than a skeleton's DPS, which is pretty ridiculous. They can't even one-shot the skeleton. But because of the less anti-air, it's actually weaker to air now, reducing its versatility by a lot. Because now minions can just easily take all the goblins out. Now there's going to be less range, which means less distraction. And first off, it gives guards and skeleton army a chance to kind of be in the spotlight right now. Because when guards are actually better at distracting than Skarmy, because of their shieldy things, so they don't die to anything. But Skarmy actually has a much higher DPS, so you can just kill things with it. So maybe you might want to consider both of those cards instead of the Goblin Gang now. Supercell already nerfed skeletons to the ground, then buffed them really high, and now they're nerfing to the ground again. They're losing one little skeleton, which means less DPS, less distraction, less of everything. It no longer shuts down Musketeer, for example. It'll be easier to kill by like Bandit, for example, which is also receiving a buff. But like, it's just a lot worse now. It's worse than a 25% nerf to everything in my opinion. Because for example, if you nerfed the skeletons to 3 and then gave them 25%, they're still not going to be good because they're so weak. Now this actually might give guards a chance to rise again, as this is where the guards might be getting a lot of an indirect buff in this balance change. My opinion was that skeletons always outclassed guards. It wasn't the Goblin Gang, it was just skeletons offered faster distraction, and because they're only one elixir, you get 4 of them rather than 3, and you actually get a higher total DPS because guards have a lower hit speed than skeletons. But yeah, this does only affect skeletons, not everything else, so poor skeletons. I'm really sorry. Bandit is getting a pretty good buff. It's getting more hit points, which makes it harder to kill, and the dash initiation speed is increased. Now this will overall mean Bandit's a lot more dangerous on both offense and defense, but I think more so on offense. It's going to be harder to react to, so it's going to be a lot more punishing. So if you don't react to the Bandit right away, you're going to take damage a lot faster. Now it's going to increase usage a lot, I think, in faster decks instead of the slower decks, because of how Bandit's a little faster now. So like for example, if you run Bandit in a Hog cycle, you could potentially run like maybe a Bandit and a Hog together, and the Bandit can quickly take out the buildings faster than before to kill the building, and then you get the Hog on the tower. The Skeleton's nerf actually does help out Bandit as well, because that means it can instantly take out one of the skeletons with the dash. It only takes 2 seconds to take out the other 2 rather than 3. Now if Bandit does become meta, which I think it might actually, because this nerf is, buff is pretty good for Bandit. The usage of guards might increase even more, so this guards man, gonna be the new big deal. Next up we have Inferno Dragon. It's getting a big hit points increase by 7%, so it's actually gonna have more than the baby dragon now. And the retarget speed is going to be decreased by 0.2 seconds, which makes it only retarget from 1.2 seconds to only 1 second. Now the net buff is that it's going to be a lot more threatening, because it's harder to kill obviously by the hit points. I actually think it's going to take maybe 2 more shots from the tower actually to kill it now. It's much more dangerous due to the HP and the faster retarget speed. See, it's actually dangerous compared to as before, where you could almost ignore it and still just be okay by countering with skeletons, for example. Now it's still prone to distraction, but it's not as severe now. Now Inferno Dragon's already gotten a change to this and it didn't change much, so I'm wondering if this buff might be the one that makes Inferno Dragon actually viable. Now this is a slight indirect buff to distraction troops of all of them, like Skarmy, Goblin Gang, Guards, just to name a few, and Guards, we've already discussed that they might be coming back into the meta. Anyways, let's move on to the Witch, who's next. The Witch has always been very weak on the higher side of ladder and tournaments and challenges. She's only strong really in the beginning when you first start the game, but after that she drops off very quickly. Now her hit points are getting increased by 5%, Her area damage radius is getting increased by 10%, and the spawn speed from her skeletons is getting decreased to 7 seconds from 7.5 seconds. But the initial skeletons will spawn slower, similar to the Night Witch. Now this means she's going to be a lot better on offense, because she can take care of swarms easier, and swarms are very common on defense, because they're a lot easier to use on your side of the arena as opposed to the other side of the arena. The hit point change isn't going to change very much, but it changes the matchup versus smaller troops, so it can take like one more hit from a lot of different smaller things. Actually, she actually takes one more hit from the P.E.K.K.A. too now. She's going to be very good against bats, Night Witch, and Graveyard, all of which I can see meta. So if all those become meta, potentially Witch becomes meta, I don't know. But yeah, the faster spawn speed does increase the offensive power greatly, because you get faster, more DPS in a way. Well, it's not more DPS, but it's kind of faster damage when you need it. So it's going to be a lot better on offense, I think. Finally, we have the clone spell, the one and only clone spell, which is only used really in crazy Night Witch decks or bait decks, I don't really know, but yeah, it's getting a faster clone speed, which I don't think really changes much, honestly. It's still not good, honestly. I think the buff that clone needs is to give the troops like a little more hit points, like maybe like a quarter of the hit points. So that means like not everything will die in like one shot, maybe it will die in 3 shots instead. Here's an overall summary of how I think these balance changes are going to affect the meta of Clash Royale. I think Night Witch is still going to remain meta and still might be one of the best troops. However, she won't be incredibly overpowered like she is right now. I think Bandit will probably see the biggest uptake in usage of all the buffed cards, and Skeletons will obviously see the biggest downfall of all of the nerfed cards. Tornado and Log, I think they're going to see the same usage rate, but both of them are going to require a bit more skill, so you might actually see them a little less in lower arenas. Log might actually be even better due to that it can defend buildings a lot more better now, which includes your tower, which can save games. The stacking effects of the Poison, Tornado, and Heal will not change anything basically, but extremely spammy battles will be actually a lot of fun. Like if you think about it, try healing 10 heal spells on Midnight. You'll be invincible. With the new 2v2 update as well, Poison might actually see more usage in potential 2v2 tournaments, and if that, Witch will probably see a small increase in usage, but definitely more than Clone. I don't think Clone's gonna see much usage at all. It's just not good of a card. I honestly don't think Inferno Dragon is gonna see more uptake in usage, if any, but I honestly think guards have been indirectly buffed greatly in this balance update. Unless Supercell releases a card to replace guards in this next update, please don't Supercell, I can see guards being used in almost all the archetypes. I think control decks, the control archetype, is actually going to see the biggest uptake in usage due to many control cards being buffed, and Tornado, the best counter to control and also a good control card, but it's still good, it's getting nerfed. Cycle will see a lot less usage due to Skeletons being nerfed beyond viability. Now I think they're gonna probably swap places in the meta, because right now Cycle's a lot more common than Control, but you're gonna see more Control now because, well, Guards are a good control card, for example, which could be a good control card. Bandit's a good control card with Miner especially, and Hog Rider. So that's just to name a few examples, and obviously Skeletons are the backbone of any Cycle deck, and they're gone, they're dead. One interesting thing I've noticed is that at this balance change, it'll probably cause the average deck elixir to rise due to the Skeleton nerf, which is an important Cycle card in basically every single deck now. Many other cards that are higher elixir will probably rise in popularity because they can counter multiples of the buff cards rather than just Skeletons countering everything. I think if you had to replace something for Skeletons, it would probably either Ice Spirit, Goblin Gang, or Guards, but as I said before, Guards might just end up being just as good as Goblin Gang now. Well, that's gonna be it for today, everybody, and thank you for watching. This is my first video of this kind, and I plan to make more like this in the future, as you'll see in a channel update video coming up soon. Thanks for watching, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been General NX. See you all next time.